go through the brain right quick. If you want to, you don't have to.
Can I post this on Angel?
Okay. On the brain.
Wait.
Hang on. Hang on.
God, I'd be so nervous if I were you right now.
Come on.
I just would be.
I get videotaped all the time.
Will you stand right here with that?
Jesse, come on up in the front so you can see me.
Doc, I'm Doug Elrod, faculty member of NCTC.
Ever, never know.
All right.
Are we ready now? Everybody ready? Okay, this is a sheep brain. Okay? This is sheep brain. What we can see on the outside of it, y'all know there's a covering. This is part of the meninges. So this is the dura mater. This is the tough part of this. And it's very hard to even tear. Okay? So it's very, very tough. Dura means tough. Okay? Mater means mother. Underneath that, okay, there is some, I kind of rolled it up. You can see that kind of grainy stuff underneath it that looks like little ligaments. I can't even see it anymore. Okay? That's going to be the arachnoid mater in here. And then the part that's actually touching the brain, okay, is the pia mater. Those are our three meninges. Okay? So if I stuck a pin right here, the first thing that pin went through was the pia mater. Okay? So once we take all that away, we're down into the brain. We've got some neural tissue that's under this pia mater. Okay? I can see these little ditches right here. These ditches are the, each one is a sulcus, right? And then each one of these ridges, okay, those are the gyrus. Okay? Now there are some that get a particular name, like the central sulcus. See how this one goes across like that? Okay? That separates the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe, right? There's deep things that are not like these little ditches, deep things that make fissures, right? So see how deep that goes down? You can see it better on this one too. See how deep that goes? So that's the
Longitudinal fissure.
right. Okay. So we've got frontal lobe, we've got the parietal, temporal over here, back here occipital, right? Okay. So we've got the cerebrum, we've got the cerebellum. Okay. If I flip it over, okay, we've got the spinal cord coming into the medulla oblongata. And this little raised area right here on both sides, these are where the pyramids are. Okay, so you go from here up to about right here. All of that is the medulla. From there we move up. These are the pons, right? And there's two of them. Okay, and then from the pons you move up. You get to this two little areas right here that have the oculomotor nerves in them. So that's an oculomotor nerve, and that's an oculomotor nerve. Okay. And oculo means reference to the eye. Motor means to move it. So these are muscles that cause your eyes to move around. Okay? The peduncles are underneath it. So if I put a pin right, and I try to be very specific about it. If I put a pin like right there, I'm looking for the peduncles. If I put it on this and kind of lift it up, look at that. That's oculomotor, right? Okay. So the peduncles here. Then we get to this area right here. So see this kind of, what would that be, V shape almost? That's your mammillary body. So if I put my pin right there, I'm in the mammillary body. Okay? If I move the pin up to this little divot, that's where the stalk of the infundibulum was. So that's the infundibulum. And that's where the pituitary gland over here hooks into there. So this is the pituitary gland. There's a little stalk that hooks it into the hypothalamus, which is going to be underneath it when we get there here in just a second. Okay, moving on up, I get to this cross right here. This is the optic chiasma. So put it there. That is the same thing as this part right here. Okay, the optic nerves that come out are right here. That's one going to that eye. This is going to the right eye. No, the left eye. Okay, so this one going to the right eye, this one going to the left eye. Up at the front, these big pads on the front are the olfactory bulbs. Same thing here. And then there's a tract that you see called the olfactory tract that runs down here and runs down here. Okay? So a tract is kind of like a big bunch of, it's like a nerve, but it's on the brain itself.
The
okay?
optic tract.
Olfactory.
Yeah.
Right there. Did I say optic?
Point out the optic tract.
Well, that's going to be from there, from that part down in here is the optic tract.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense? Just part of the continuation of the nerves.
Right.
Okay? That's about all I can think of from this side. Okay? Wow. So, let's look at this in a cross section through it. Okay? Or a sagittal section to it, actually. All right, if we start here, spinal cord here, and you can see the central canal running down the center of the spinal cord. Okay? And that's got the cerebral spinal fluid in it. Here's the medulla again. Above the medulla, we've got the cerebellum. And the cerebellum has the tree, which is the arbor vitae, and then all this dark, the gray matter here is going to be the folia, right? So we got the foliage and the tree. Okay? Moving on this direction, okay, we run into the corpus quadrigeminum right here. And there's a superior portion to that. That's the superior colliculus up here, the inferior colliculus below. And what we're looking at is when I pull the cerebellum down, pull its pants down, see the little buttocks in here? Okay? See the superior and the inferior parts there? Superior and inferior. Okay?
Cool.
It does look like there's a little crack right there, too.
It does.
So, okay. And then we continue on in. The next big thing I see is this big round guy right here. That's the thalamus. And then below that is the hypothalamus. Okay? So, hypo means below. So, draw you a circle right here. And in some of them, it's a little bit better than others. Let's see. This one's not bad. Okay? You can see the thalamus. And then if I put the pen down here, you'd know that I'm talking about the...
Hypothalamus.
I'm not going to be tricky. If I put it in the thalamus, I'm going to be right there in the middle of it. Okay? Okay. So, the hypothalamus communicates with the infundibulum, and it communicates with the pituitary gland. So all that's laying right on top of this part right here. Okay? We continue moving up. We'll go back to this one. Okay? Here's the little pineal gland right here. Okay? And then we've got this surface up here. The upper portion is the corpus callosum, and then in between that and the fornix below it is one of the lateral ventricles. So this is one of the lateral ventricles in here. This is where we're going to have cerebral spinal fluid produced back here in the choroid plexus. Okay? Now, this little blue is good for the choroid plexus. Okay? Pin right there in the blue. Nice choroid plexus. That's where we're making the cerebral spinal fluid. Okay? So, there is a veil that separates the two ventricles, this being the lateral ventricle. See this little bitty wall right here that we see that closes it off. In this one, we've busted through it. See how it's a big divot now? Okay? In this one, we've still got some of it as well. Okay? If I poke through this, okay, and I do this, see how we're down in the lateral ventricle now. So pretty much just ruined that one, septum pellucidum. Okay?
Wait, what did you show?
When I busted through it, I busted through that portion right there, and now I can see all the way into the ventricle.
Okay.
Okay?
So if you pin that?
It's going to
So
be
if I
smack
pin
down
it-
in the middle, right?
Yeah. If I was pinning the septum, I would try to do something like this for
Oh, yeah,
y'all.
he said underneath, remember?
Okay? Maybe try to work it up
Yeah, it
like
is.
that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something like that I've done.
Okay.
There's different ways you can do it.
Well,
If it's completely closed off, you know it's the septum.
can we know the way?
That's the way. You wouldn't say septum if I put it right there, right? Because you're seeing into the ventricle.
Ventricle. Okay,
Right.
so if it's underneath, like if you have it pinned underneath,
And
like.
kind of raise it up.
Or-
Okay.
Septum.
I mean, if I put the pin right here, that's
You
gonna
said
be your
underneath
septum.
that white little strip.
Well, underneath it is the ventricle.
Okay.
The wall that's like in your nose, the septum that separates both sides. That's what the wall is, separating both sides of that.
That's why
That's
you
the thing
put it the
coming
way
down.
you showed us.
Yeah. So, fornix below it, right? So, corpus callosum above, fornix below.
Where's the fornix again?
This portion right here.
Mine?
Yeah, the part under the ventricle is the fornix. Okay?
Third ventricle.
Third ventricle, the fluid flows down through here, and then right in between here. And then the fourth ventricle puts us below it, below the cerebellum, so under here.
Okay.
Where's the third?
Over that.
Yeah, as this part right in here.
Before the
Just travel
turn,
down.
or does it include the turn?
Includes a little bit of the turn, because
Can
you've
it
got.
also be between
and
the
then-
fornix and the
Right,
thalamus?
and then there is a cerebral aqueduct. Let's see if we can find a cerebral aqueduct. Not so good there. Here you can kind of see this little ditch right here? We kind of missed it a little bit, but that's the cerebral aqueduct. Is that all of them?
I hope so.
That's pretty good. That's most of them. Okay,
Okay. And thank you,
no problem.
Professor Elrod.